take note of what I have to say. This is Arx, which was once a city like so many others, spreading proudly beneath the majesty of the sun. Our king Paxellus was a true and just king who knew how to deal with our occasional skirmishes with the goblins or the rat men. Many years after Paxellus's death, in the fatal year of 226, our sun began to fall into decline, and an eternal winter fell upon our world. His Majesty Lundshire, noble son of Paxellus, decided to move the whole city of Arx underground into one of the dwarves' abandoned mines. At this point, the conflicts between the different races in Arx dissolved. Not just humans, but dwarves, trolls, and goblins all worked together for their common survival. This migration underground took 5 years, during which the sun disappeared completely from our skies. All the races built their homes in this new setting, and little by little, relationships between the races began to slip back to the way they had always been. But today, evil is knocking at the gates. Akba, the god of destruction, is about to...
Hey, you there! This way, quick!
Don't let him get away!
Gotcha! It's all right. He's
Come
trapped
on!
here.
Get this door broken down!
Our name is Shigar, and this is the beginning of our journey through Arx. The peculiar mark on our forehead is as mysterious to us as the strange amnesia we're suffering from. An impenetrable void of confusion veils our memories. We're skilled in the arcane arts, but able to defend ourselves in melee combat as well if the situation requires it. We wake up in a goblin prison, clueless to how and why we arrived here. Yet this place is not totally abandoned by anyone we might call a friend. We spot a stranger in a nearby cell. As strange and unfamiliar as he might be, in a goblin prison, any human is a more than welcome sight.
My memory, it's gone. I remember nothing. Not even my own name. What did I come here to do?
The gobblers probably crept up on you from behind. Bloody gobblers. Come on, look around your cell. There has to be a way to get out on your side. I can't do anything on my side.
Luckily for us and our new friend, we find some bars that can be easily bent. It would seem the goblins don't really pay too much attention to the state of the prison. The bars are rusty and easily moved out of the way.
Well done.
A bone is on the ground, a clumsy weapon, but more than enough for us to take out the goblin guard.
The lever on the side of my cell.
We open the cell. The smell of freedom can be sweet even in damp goblin
Thank you,
dungeons.
Shigar. If you can't remember your name, you better keep this one. It means he who has no name in a foreign tongue. My name is Koltar, and I was part of the Travelers Guild before I ended up here.
I'm Shigar. Yes, I'll keep this name for now. What is this guild of travelers?
Well, you really have lost your memory, haven't you? Our world no longer has a sun to heat it, and outside is nothing more than a huge expanse of ice. Only those who are trained and equipped for extreme conditions are allowed to make the dangerous trek between fortress cities hidden deep in the mountains. These people are the Guild of Travelers.
Right. We shall discuss this later. Now let's get out of here.
I am injured. I won't be able to get through this hole. I'll stay here and wait till you can open the door. Don't worry about me.
And so our true adventure begins. Into the unknown darkness of Arx, into the tunnels that will lead us to our fate, whatever that may be. The tunnels are a strange place, a silent reminder to what the realm of eternal darkness, a sunless planet, really is. Infested by rats that gnaw on scattered bones, by venomous spiders that crawl on the surfaces, silently creeping by their nets. The remains of an unfortunate soul linger in the darkness. On them we find some magical runes. Even though we have no memory of our magical training, casting comes naturally to us as something that we did countless times in a past that is now lost to us. The torch brightens under our magical influence. We navigate the tunnels, facing spiders and rats on the way, while mapping the abandoned mine shafts under the brightness of our torch. A broken elevator blocks our way. We will have to repair it if we want to get back to our friend. The tunnels tremble and shake, an earthquake, another thing that we don't remember experiencing before. Luckily for us, a rope is readily found in a barrel, probably a leftover of the miners that built this place. We uncover another secret of these tunnels, a magical missile scroll. This will surely help in any future fights to come. We also take some time to cook up a bit of food. Goblin prisoners are not well fed after all. After some time, we're back to the elevator, and we successfully bind the rope into the broken mechanism.
Me bring you back to cell now.
Die, you filthy goblin. Die, you bastard! We got him! Just after you went through the hole, I heard a noise. So I hid and waited till the goblin came in. This time I got the drop on him, sneaky bastard.
The Goblin Lord lies at our feet. However, it's time to leave our friend behind.
Go quickly before the next shift gets here.
Another ominous earthquake, a strange omen. We move up into the unknown. Our escape
Go quickly
continues.
before the next shift gets here.
It seems that this experience has given us more insight into our own powers. We feel stronger, more competent, especially after feeling the surge of magic once more. There is no fresh air in Arx, yet we're met with a peculiar, vomit-inducing stench. It's not even the odor of the goblins themselves, but it almost feels like corpses are rotting somewhere in the convoluted tunnels that lead out of the prison. We're not content with escaping, we take our revenge. Goblins expire under our blows, staining the dirty walls with fresh blood. However, the Goblin Kingdom holds another surprise for us, a strange prisoner. An unlikely ally, perhaps?
Are you on the wrong side of those bars?
Me, Holstein. You help me, and me help me. You. You open door.
Give me one good reason why I should.
Me help you if one day you need you. Me. Goblin honor. Well, just honor then.
We free the prisoner, learning that a tavern is nearby. Maybe we will meet him again. At last, as the stench becomes almost unbearable, we find a secluded room, a torture chamber. and among the devices several distinctively human body parts. It's quite clear that the goblins were executing and torturing human prisoners here, but for what end? Is there any motivation behind this, except pure bloodlust and the joy suffering might bring to these creatures? More goblins fall. A big metal door blocks our way. Could this be our way out? It's locked, but it's clear that it's the exit from the Goblin Kingdom we seek. However, we will have to find a key or another way. The loud snoring of a goblin lord draws our attention. We try to sneak up, but the goblin spots us. We have to fight now. We best the goblin and find a key, along with several interesting documents. One, a letter, where the goblins are given the task of sacrificing human captives to a deity. At least, it's clear now what the goblins were planning for us. My dear goblin friends, as our agreement seems set to continue, I would like to confirm my order for 2 more humans to sacrifice to our beloved Akba. You will receive 1,000 gold pieces per head upon delivery. I will bring you this princely summoned person. The key we found actually opens the locked door we stumbled upon in the torture chamber. Although we are disappointed that this is not the key opening the door to the Goblin Kingdom, we still find a goblin armory of sorts. A sword, shield, piece of armor, and several magical runes are ours now. Especially important, as it seems that our memory is slowly returning. We managed to use one of the runes in a combination which allows us to create a magical missile now. We continue on. This way seems to lead deeper into the Goblin Kingdom.
Who go there? If you is come for trading, me need to see you's written authorization from boss himself. Me have to see you's gem dealer badge.
An interesting proposal. One of the papers we picked up in the room of the Goblin Lord also is an authorization of some sort, but unsigned. At last, it seems that we have found a way out of the Goblin realm. We move up the stairs through the darkness of the caves, just to be greeted by another earthquake. But what is this? Dead guards? Did the goblins do this? Is there a war that has broken out between the races? A castle. What should have been safety for us now just seems like another death trap. The white walls are plastered with blood. The gates are wide open. We enter.
At last, the reinforcements. Go and see Ortian immediately.
All the slaughter, carnage done by these Ilsids. The name sounds familiar, but we don't remember seeing their kind before. The outpost is destroyed. Upstairs, we find the severely wounded commander.
I am Ortian, captain of the King's armies and commander of this outpost. Are you a mercenary? Can we count on your help?
Mercenary? Perhaps. For now, I've just put some distance between myself and a couple of goblins. What happened to you?
We were attacked by a small group of Ilsids. They wounded me and took 3 of my men.
The Ilsids?
2 hours ago, 3 of them infiltrated the outpost. They attacked without warning or provocation. The Ilsid have earned a reputation as fierce and unstoppable warriors, and now I've seen it with my own eyes. Their speed is unbelievable. In a flash, they disabled and dragged off 3 of my men. And you must have seen what they did to Karnak. I don't know why they did that, but I do know it would be long before they return.
Find someone else to help. I have my own problems to deal with.
You are my only hope. I cannot trust the rabble at the tavern. I'd sooner trust a total stranger.
I just told you that.
You have to go to the castle and tell the king what has happened here. This is of vital importance. Since the last earthquake, the path to the castle has been blocked by a cave-in, and we have been unable to get through. You must tell him that the Ilsids have declared war on us.
This is ridiculous. You've just told me that the path leading to the castle is blocked.
You should be able to go through the Goblin's Cave 2 levels down, and find a way back up to this level. It's dangerous and roundabout, but we have no choice. If you find a way back up there, you should be back in the human kingdom once again.
Impossible. I've only just escaped from a goblin prison.
Here, this will help. It's a gemstone dealer's license. As long as they think you're a salesman and you don't attack them, they'll probably leave you alone. I have to stay here. You are our only hope, brave mercenary.
A gem dealer's license? We ponder the options we have. Do we want to take on this task? First we would have to head back into the Goblin Kingdom. Would that be smart after just escaping? We could be recognized, recaptured, or even worse. We need a break. Even though the situation seems dire, visiting the nearby tavern we heard about might still be a good idea. We enter the tavern, a strange place. It feels almost eerie, desolate in a certain way. Pausius, the goblin we freed before, is at the tavern as well. Pausius signs the goblin authorization we found earlier. It seems that goblins don't really have too much control when it comes to fake signatures. What is left for us? We have no memories, no clear goals to pursue, and helping our fellow humans probably is the only way forward for us. That means going back into the goblin prison and embracing our fake gem dealer identity to further our common goals.
Halt, human! You enter Goblin Kingdom. Humans is not allowed, except gem dealers.
I'm a dealer. Here's my license.
Everything in order. You passing now. But careful. Human rebels is escaped from our prison not long ago. Only dealers allowed passing.
We have to be careful. The goblins are obviously aware that some prisoners have escaped. We can only hope that we were not recognized. But to be fair, we did not leave many witnesses behind. We never would have thought that goblins have any ideas what authorizations or papers are. We use the opportunity to explore an abandoned mine shaft, spiders and rats, and yet more corpses. The underground of Arx is a dangerous place indeed. The goblin and troll cities are very close. Apparently the goblins are using trolls for mining gems, while the goblins are the ones selling them to the other races. However, the goblins won't let us in, and the trolls are on strike, which leaves us only one possible way forward towards the human city of Arx. We have to navigate the caves that lie deeper and ascend again to reach the city. The seldomly visited caves are inhabited by creatures that thrive in the dark. We advance carefully, lighting torches and keeping our weapons at hand. Bones and human remains are scattered along the caves, now covered with spider webs and dust. A giant spider! Luckily for us, our spellcasting abilities are getting stronger, and we kill the arachnid without taking any major injuries. After a while we find an abandoned stairwell, which leads us up into the city.
Lord, we have located an energy flux.
Another one. Why are the immortals never content with their own dimension? But that is our eternal duty, I suppose, to ensure that the universal equilibrium is maintained. Where is the origin of the energy channel?
An otherwise unremarkable world called Exhauster. The supplicant expired before he could finish the communication. What should we do, Lord?
Let us send a guardian.
The city, or should we say, village of Arx, looks rather normal as any village founded underground, devoid of the sun, placed in an old mine shaft can be. We're told to see the king after informing the captain of the guard that we have an extremely important message. Once again we are drawn into matters that concern questions that are bigger and more important than our existence since this recent escape from the goblins. However, As fate leads us to these questions, we start to ponder that there may be some hidden reason for all of this. Perhaps this is the way to regain our memory and the meaning we lack for now. As for now, our new mission is to visit the Troll King and seek his help with clearing the landslides. We witness another political intrigue. The trolls are striking because their idol was stolen, and as it turns out, the goblins have internal issues as well.
Curse you! Me would be Goblin King. Me would eat cakes all day, all night even. Alatar is big dummy. Him not deserve crown. Him not know how to handle even dumber trolls. But all this your fault. Me kill you for wrecking me enchanted crown.
A pretender is doing his best to take the throne for himself, and as it turns out, stealing a troll idol and destroying the base of the goblin economy while accusing the current king seems to be the best and, interestingly, very cunning way of dealing with this problem, especially for a goblin. However, the idol is returned, and the trolls agree to send some workers to clear the collapsed passage between the outpost and the human village of Arx.
I think it is time now that we helped each other.
Yes, now we help you. My people is move rocks out the way. Aruga, Onda, Glock, War.
But as the immediate matter seems settled, we seem to be drawn to explore deeper before returning to the king. The unknown darkness might hold dangers, but possibly answers as well. The deeper levels are abandoned. The empty shafts just occasionally rattle with rats or spiders. Delving deeper, we find some more goblins. 2 goblin clans for that matter. Water and Earth clan, and both want us to kill the other clan. Clan Water eats fish, while Clan Earth is fond of rats, and there seems to be no other way to settle their differences. Unfortunately for them, we decide to kill both clans. We might have a slight vendetta against goblins. A surprise. A welcome surprise indeed. There are 2 human traders we find on the same level. We do some bartering before leaving off. However, getting back, we witness them getting ambushed by goblins. We intervene, but only manage to save their dog. All their trade goods are now left here, for us, and we're left with a new problem. What should we take with us, and what should we leave behind? We can't be sure that we will find these items here anymore, when and if we come back. We decide to make our way back, using the way to Arx that is clear now. The king is pleased. Our mission was successful after all. However, we get no time to rest. Phelan Orbiplanex, the astronomer, has been killed, and all the evidence points towards the cult of Akba. Once again, the king relies on our counsel and help. We need to find the murderer. We are informed that Falnor, the king's alchemist, might know more, and he provides us with a key to Phelan's room. It is quite clear that Phelan was on the verge of finding out something significant and dangerous. He left some clues in case something might happen to him. With the clues, we unlock his room and find his diary, and it becomes sufficiently clear that he was the victim of Akba cultists. An urgent council meeting is held immediately to inform the king on the state of our investigation.
Small thing. The Guardian is the only one who is capable of destroying this fragment of meteor. Above all, take great care.
A bright light embraces us as we touch the stone. Everything is clear now, and the memories, like a long lost and forgotten spring, burst into our mind once more. We are a guardian, and we were sent to Arx with a specific mission. Our task is to destroy Akba and to restore the balance of this mortal realm. We will have to find the stone that binds his power in the temple where the ritual is being conducted. The king's informants share a valuable information with us. The entrance to the temple is hidden in the tavern. We will need to talk to Artzog, Phalan's killer, to gain a way into the temple. We're witnesses to another discussion in the court. There seems to be an old debt that needs to be repaid to the strange snake ladies that dwell on the lower levels of Arx. However,
I've been
the king
doing
is not willing to
everything I
discuss
can to
this
find
issue
these
with
rebels
us,
for the last
which is
20
strange,
years,
considering
ever since
that
they
he was
kidnapped
seeking
my
our help
daughter
before
and
without holding
murdered my
back.
wife.
The scene is set. We make our way to the tavern to face whatever the temple might hide behind these unsuspecting walls. The guard asks for a password, but we easily pass with the information Herzog gave us. The gruesome reality of the temple and its cultists is apparent from the first moment. The temple walls are splattered with blood, and the maddened cries of the cultists test our resolve on every step. We cleave through the cultists, exploring the depths of the temple. The energy of the stone is apparent to us, and it seems to draw us ever closer to the sanctum. However, the temple defenses are bolstered by a unique security system as well. Several clues guide us through locked rooms and levers, only to reveal the inner sanctum.
I know who you are and why you're here. Orboplanix must have had time to contact
The meteor stone is now within our grasp, but the Akba cultists have one last trick up their sleeve. They want to sacrifice a mysterious woman, probably to bind her powers to Akba and to summon him into our realm. We have to stop them, but the cultists know about our presence and identity. Finally, they summon a demon to stop us, and we have a tough fight ahead of us. The demon is slain.
Oh, bless you, stranger. I don't know who you are, but you've made a friend today.
Akba will have to look elsewhere for his meal.
I won't forget this. I promise.
I don't believe it. I thought I'd be able to destroy this. How could it be too powerful for me?
Impossible. We cannot shatter the stone, and we feel a strange coldness, a certain feeling that can be best described as a draining of our life force and energy. At least we free the mysterious lady that was meant to be a sacrifice to Akba. The mystery thickens. It seems that the fight with the demon and the meteor in the temple were a carefully laid out trap, and we fell for it. By touching it, we sent our own energy to Akba, further strengthening our own archenemy. But there is still hope. There is a strange artifact that can protect and empower us. It's made up from two pieces, Krahos and Zohark. Our goal now is clearer than ever. We have to find these artifacts and embrace their power to destroy Akba. The former King Poxelos signed a treaty to return these artifacts to the Snake Ladies if they do request them. 20 years later, a strange and mysterious group of human rebels appeared and stole Krahos. Thus only Zohark was returned and is being safe-kept by the Order. We have to find these artifacts, and in this case, the rebels that stole them from the king. The clues we have on the location of the artifacts are unclear at best. Finding the rebels might be our best chance, but rebels are usually people that do their best to not be found that easily. We decide that the lower levels are our best bet. Groups of people could hide in the abandoned shafts that rarely see any visitors. But we have to be careful. The king mentioned that the rebels killed his wife and abducted his daughter years ago. Even if we find them, we have to be on our guard. We are more than surprised when we meet the woman we just saved walking around on the lower levels.
I do not even know your name. I think...
Later. Let me be the mysterious woman for now.
I seek a magic object that was in the possession of a rebel group so I can apprehend the people that kidnapped you.
Do you now? What do you know about this magic object?
They call it Krahos. It once belonged to the kingdom of Arx. It must be combined with Zohark to unleash its full potential.
Well, perhaps you'd better follow me.
Where am I? You know my name?
You're in the middle of the so-called
The lady,
rebel
or better
rebel.
said the rebel leader, informs us that she will provide the artifact for us, but just if we get a very valuable artifact from the crypts for her. Once again, we are drawn into a conflict of interests, but our mission is of the utmost importance. We have to agree to the proposal. We will get that artifact from the crypt, hoping to exchange it for Krahos. The rebels are well equipped. and it does not look like they are doing poorly out here. We ponder the possibility of the reunification of these two groups of humans. It certainly would improve their chances down here in the underground. We also have a sneaking suspicion on the real identity of their leader. The crypts have been under lockdown for a while. We have already heard rumors about the undead roaming through the lower levels, but we have no choice. We have to acquire the artifact. Carlos gives us the keys, and we're off to investigate the crypts. These gloomy, abandoned halls are the last resting place for the fallen heroes of Arx. The confusing layout and the blocked off hallways impede our progress. We have to break up the tombs to look for clues. It's not glamorous, but it's our only chance of navigating these halls. The grave of a vampire? That is unexpected and a bit unnerving. This strange statue seems like it's waiting for an offering. With a clue that a vampire was active here as well, we draw a little bit of our own blood. The gates open. The Walking Dead truly roam this place. They are dangerous and hard to kill. We have to pierce their hearts with a stake after we take them down if we hope to truly banish them. It is also very obvious that someone put a lot of thought and time into laying traps around the crypts. Grave robbers are very much not welcome here. The lower levels are infested by undead. We even hear the whispers of a ghost, the guardian of the ancient artifact we're seeking.
Well, I see I have a new visitor. What are you, traveler or tomb raider?
Who goes there?
I am Vladimir, guardian of the shield of the ancients, and that which common mortals call a ghost.
A ghost?
We have to solve a riddle to open the last door. It's a mystery and a labyrinth meant to be the final part of the defenses that were set up to guard the artifact. After several trials, we finally reach the shield. We should be able to hold up our part of the deal now and get Krahos in return. But a lich is trying to stop us. This must be the guardian of this ancient tomb. We destroy the undead abomination and emerge once again in the village of Arx. The shield is very powerful, but we give it to Aaliyah nonetheless. She also reveals her true identity to us. As we presumed, she's the lost daughter of King Longshire, but she would like us to keep this secret. With this information and the permission to take Krahos, we move on. We have to find the missing piece. The second artifact, Zohark, is with the Order, deeper in Arx. We already have some clues on their location. The Order temple is hidden deep in the mines. We are welcomed, but an eerie and suspicious atmosphere remains. The Order insists that we are to be tested. No one can receive Zohark without a trial in the temple. However, it is also apparent that the Order has plans for us. They are not helping us out of sheer goodwill. Zohark is well protected, located within a maze that is strengthened by many illusions and traps which we need to best to get to the artifact. However, since our arrival on Arx, our magical powers have gradually been restored. We almost are restored to our former self, and the illusions of the Order are no match for us. Finally, after proving that we can best the illusions and riddles of the sisters, we are presented with Zohark. Now, with both pieces in place, we have no time to lose. We need to gather some more items and head into the temple to destroy the meteor stone once and for all. Although there is not much time left, we feel another powerful presence in these caves. Investigating the powerful energy, we meet an ancient beast, a dragon. Furthermore, we heard about the magical energies and powerful enchantments that can be made in conjunction with dragon eggs. We best the beast in combat to claim the eggs. Not an act of glory, but still, the fate of this world rests on our shoulders, and we need all the power we can get to defeat Akba. We've obtained several magical artifacts in the meantime, as well as a set of magical armor and a powerful sword. It's time to destroy the meteor and Akba once and for all. The Ilsids are truly fast and extremely deadly. However, we paralyze them with our magic, negating their incredible speed. Their corpses explode in a gruesome, gory display of pain. Akba is surely aware of the fact that we are coming to destroy the meteor. His presence can already be felt in these halls, and the elite troops of the enemy are here to make sure no one interrupts his manifestation in Arx. Finally, we slay the last cultist and shatter the stone. Akba surely is defeated, banished to a dimension from which he can no longer threaten Arx. At least, that's what we hope for.
Very well, Guardian. I see that you have rejected my generous offer.
Perhaps our next meeting will see you bitterly regretting your decision.
Did you really think that destroying this meteor would stop my incarnation? The remaining channel is just enough for me to follow. I may not have the strength that the sacrifice of these pathetic followers would have given me. But when I arrive, my energy will quickly grow strong with all these souls to drink.
While the enemy is not defeated, he is weakened, and this is still better than letting Akba enter this dimension unopposed. However, the cultists have made another move. Returning to the village of Arx, we find it occupied by Ailsids. Apparently, the king has been imprisoned in the castle dungeon. We need to move swiftly to free him. The Ailsids have also posted guards around the city. We will have to fight our way through. Once again, we've been lured into a trap by the Akba cultists. However, luckily for us, our old friend Kaltar manages to save us. We also find a pristine set of Ailsid armor which will surely help us in our journey. We escape to the sewers only to find that the enemies have retreated to their stronghold after realizing that their assassination attempt failed. We have to speak to the king immediately. It seems that there is one last chance to slay Akba. We have to forge the ultimate weapon, a destructive artifact which will help us sever the connection Akba is channeling to this plane. With that, we will be able to banish the demon once and for all. However, we will need several items, some of which we have already uncovered during our journey. We already have a dragon egg, and the meteor dust we collected from the temple should suit this purpose as well. Furthermore, we need a mithril blade, and getting one won't be easy at all. We have to descend to the deepest levels, for only dwarven smiths possess the capabilities and skills necessary to forge such a weapon. We actually traversed this area before, and the countless redman corpses are our witness to that. After we completed the trial for Zohark, we went ahead and investigated strange noises coming from below. We were ambushed by redmen and barely escaped with our life. Collapsed hallways, mysterious silence, abandoned tools. The Dwarven Kingdom seems strangely lacking in the one thing that we've set out to find: dwarves. We notice another strange thing about this place. Our magical energies are being dampened. We can use no spells while we are traversing this area. We enter a part of the Dwarven complex through a collapsed shaft. But what is this? A strange beast is following us. The dead dwarves and the blood around the complex can only mean that this creature slaughtered the dwarves. However, unfortunately for us, we have to find out that the beast is impervious to our weapons, and our magic is silenced in this area. We will have to run for now. After quite a bit of running around, we managed to trap the beast in a room. We will have to find some mithril now. We find a huge chunk of mithril deep in the mines and teleport it into the forge through a dwarven machine. Now we can continue. Using a dwarven manual on forging, we combine all the necessary parts and manage to make a mithril blade. We will have to return to the Temple of the Order, since the Snake Ladies promised a way to enchant this weapon, although we have a sneaking suspicion that we will be able to enchant the blade on our own with our magical powers. We're faced with a choice as the Order finally reveals their endgame. They will enchant the weapon for us, but we have to reveal the location of the rebels. We decide against it. Enough politicking and getting involved with local issues, our magical powers are restored and we enchant the weapon ourselves. There's only one thing left now. Approaching the force field that is blocking the way to the temple, we meet Aliyah yet again. She agrees to meet her father now. It also seems that she has a strange connection with the Order and that she is destined for a powerful position as their queen. It was their ambition all along to find her for this purpose, and Aliyah agrees to her fate. We feel a powerful demonic presence here. We're approaching the final scene of our drama. The Ilsets fight fiercely to their last breath. The last of the Akba cultists throw themselves on our sword just to grant their master as much time as possible. Finally, we're met with another locked door. The Akba stones we've been collecting fit the small pillars. Finally, with 5 stones in hand, we open the door, ready to face Akba. We find the Cerberus in the halls. He's channeling Akba. It's time to finally put an end to this. However, upon hitting him with our magical weapon and shattering the connection, we realize that it's too late. Akba can materialize now. We will have to destroy and banish the demon here and now. With the last blow, Akba is banished, humiliated. Our mission is complete. Arx is safe again. For now.
What have you done? Akba may have been evil, but he was the only one who could bring the sun back to Arx.
Akba should not have tried to manifest in this dimension. He knows the rules.
Rules which you too must follow, Guardian.
Master, what do you mean?
The rules are set in stone and cannot be broken, Guardian. You were sent by the Nodin and must return there the moment your mission has been completed.
And Arx's son, was his Cerberus telling the truth?
Do not worry about this phenomenon. Quite simply, it is not within the Nodin's power. Also, things may not be as you have perceived them. I know you have been through powerful experiences here, but the power you have acquired makes you too dangerous for this world. The consequence of your staying here any longer could be disastrous, and I have many other missions for you. Allow me to bring you back within our fold.
Very good, Master.
Hard to believe that it's been more than 20 years since this game was first released. I've been looking forward to this one. I never managed to finish it back in the day, so I was excited to play it again. As for the technical side of things, I used the GOG version with the Arx Libertatis mod, which is an improved open source engine for Arx. This version of Arx Fatalis worked without any major issues for me. I did not experience any significant bugs or game-breaking problems. Back in the day, when the game was first released, Arx had some issues with the magic system. Sometimes the drawn runes would not get picked up by the system properly, but it seems that this issue was resolved since then. In the first part of this review, we will briefly talk about the graphics and audio design. Well, Arx looks just like you'd expect, and I feel like it would not be fair to point out any shortcomings in this regard for a game that came out in 2002. However, some of the details hold up particularly well, especially the magic and some of the environmental effects. Most importantly, the graphics work very well for what they are set out to do. They support the atmosphere in a believable and interesting way. I'm quite fond of the art style. Some areas like the crypts, crystal caves, Ice Dragon area and Mushroom Forest just ooze with atmosphere. The creature and NPC design is nothing unexpected or super original for a fantasy RPG. There are no big surprises here, but I'm fond of the art style and design choices that were made here. As I've said, it works very well for what the game sets out to do, and I do remember the game looking impressive when I played it back in 2002. The casting animations, that is, rune drawing, and the spell effects are rather good looking even by today's standards. I feel like there was extra work put into those since the innovative magical system was one of the selling points of the game, and to this day is one of the unique design choices Arx makes. The first thing that becomes apparent when you look at the audio design is that there's not much of a soundtrack. It's more like a library of audio, environmental tracks that are meant to support the atmosphere that the graphics are trying to create. But it's not really a soundtrack you will be listening to later outside of the game. I will show some examples of that in the next section, but the audio design ranges from very good and appropriate to the setting to downright weird and comical. I'm not quite sure if there's an audio bug in some areas, but some audio transitions are downright strange and I don't think they are working as intended. Listen to this. Also, this is how a tavern sounds in Arx. Of course, it is true that there is an evil temple of Akba downstairs, but I don't think it's the best design choice to make the whole tavern sound like a lab in Stalker or a horror movie transition just before the big scary baddie appears. On the other hand, I did not find any other major issues or things that annoy me with the general audio effects. They add a lot to the combat and the magic, and the voice acting can be downright charming, like with the goblins for example.
Ah, human! La-da-dee, la-da-da, la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
If I would have to rate the whole package, I would say that the graphics and sounds harmonize and support the general premise rather well, but as with everything with this game, a certain tolerance to jank is not only recommendable, but required. So moving on from this, let's take a look at the general gameplay and the story. I'm a proud jank enjoyer, and I have a thing for ambitious games that by some natural law of the art of game making, always end with a higher or lower level of charming jank. Gothic, Kenshi, Stalker, there are many examples of such games, and Arx can definitely be added to this list. It's very clear that Arx had a very ambitious vision, and that this vision was not completely achieved by the release date. Some of the game concepts that are unique even today, like the magic system, are still a bit clunky, but very interesting, and they certainly add to the uniqueness and value of the game. The first thing that sticks out, and something that surprised me, is the approach to RPG Arx actually takes. I would say that it is a rather focused and linear experience. The first time I heard about Arx Fatalis was back when I got Gothic 2, which had the Arx demo on the Gothic 2 CD. Coming from Gothic 2, Morrowind, and games of that era, you would expect a similar approach, but even compared to Gothic 2, Arx is a rather linear and even more focused experience. In some things, Arx is shockingly modern, while in other aspects it remains a game that is firmly rooted in unforgiving, old-school RPG design. The first thing that is rather important to point out is that the NPC interactions are conveyed through what can only be called cutscenes. And that is a rather modern approach. It has certain advantages, like the more cinematic experience and the focus on a predefined story path you may want to tell as a developer. But on the other hand, it really limits the role-playing aspect and the branching possibilities of character development. I'm not claiming that there are no choices to be made in Arx and that there is no reactivity, but the choice to not add a dialogue system severely hampers all the possibilities and different branching paths that could have been a part of Arx. Some choices that are in the game became apparent to me only after beating the game and after researching some of the things I might have missed. Here's a good example of that. You can actually choose to not help Koltar at the beginning of the game. You can leave him in prison. However, the game gives you no indication that this is a viable possibility, and I don't really see a good reason for the player to consider that option. or what the player might gain out of it. This way the game lets Kaltar save you from the Ilsits later if you rescue him, but if you don't let him out of his cell, Kaltar will be the Ilsit that ambushes you in the castle dungeon. You will also not gain access to the Ilsit armor until later in the game. As for a better example of reactivity, on a deeper level you meet two groups of goblins and two human traders. I killed all the goblins in my playthrough, only to see the scripted ambush and attack of the goblins on the human traders later. I found that really neat and actually appreciated that, since it might seem like goblin revenge for our acts. This leads to another problem that Arx has, which became clear to me only during the later stages of the game. The game does not hinder you from exploring, but it can sometimes punish you if you explore too much. For example, I found the ice dragon before destroying the meteor in the temple of Akba, but only left one dialogue line which the dragon gave me at that time, about how I need to destroy the meteor. The dragon did not give any other exposition. The role of the dragon was unclear, and I just decided to kill it for XP and loot. This is the way I obtained the dragon egg you need later in the story. However, there is a whole different path to acquiring the egg. You can actually buy it from the dragon, and you have to investigate a specific book to solve a riddle for the dragon to get that option and to offer him the exact amount of gold, because he won't disclose it to you. This is a really elegant solution, and I would have appreciated if I had any indication that it is a possibility. I often found myself in areas that were meant to be traversed later, like the Mushroom Forest, which kind of break the natural progression of things if you visit them too early. I much prefer the Gothic 2 way of dealing with things, mainly blocking off areas with very strong enemies, which you won't be able to defeat on your first playthrough, because you lack the expert knowledge of the game you might have acquired on your future playthroughs after beating the game in a mostly natural and intended order. The contrast in game design philosophy in Arx Fatalis, that is, the strange mixture of modern and old school design, becomes very clear with the puzzles. I have to admit, I never enjoyed puzzles and riddles in games too much, but good luck getting through some of the puzzles Arx throws your way without a guide. Some really bad examples are the final riddle in the crypt and the teleportation maze in the Temple of the Snake Ladies. While it might be more of a personal and subjective thing, and some players might enjoy the riddles much more than I did, there are other design choices that are just abhorrent, archaic, and anti-player. They're tedious and bad. If you don't buy a keyring, and keep shuffling countless keys in your limited inventory and checking every lock 100 times with every key you picked up, since most of them look similar anyway, I might be tempted to say that it's a skill issue, and that checking the inventory of certain traders might have eased your playthrough significantly. But if you're stuck in front of Akba's door because you're missing a single rock, the importance of which you only truly realize at the end of a game, that is more of a design choice. There are certain moments in the game, and not all of them are connected to areas or quests you'd recognize as very important, where you will find these certain items, Akba rocks. The game in no way indicates, or at least I did not see any indication, that these items are mandatory. You can throw them away. I'm not sure if you can trade them, since I did not try, but you can leave them on corpses or do anything else the game allows with them. There are only 5 of these, and you will need them all to unlock the final door. I'm a bit of a hoarder, so I actually kept 2 of them throughout the game and found 2 in the final temple, but for the life of me couldn't find out what I did with the 5th one. I don't know if you have your whole playthrough recorded, but I actually did. And I still did not manage to find the location where I left the last stone. I had to spawn it in, and I'm not sure if that was even possible back in the day, or if it is an Arx Libertalis feature. Investigating this issue and reading some forum posts, this was not really that uncommon, and there was a bug where one NPC that holds one of these 5 stones simply does not spawn. On the other hand, even games that came out around the same time handled these issues more gracefully, or at least better. I don't think anybody ever thought that throwing away the Eye of Innos in Gothic 2 is a good idea. And honestly, I don't remember if you can even do it since you have unlimited inventory space. But the story is so focused on the item that you're always aware that it is a crucial item. The crude solution of making crucial NPCs unkillable in Gothic 2 is not something I'd see as ideal. The Morrowind system seems to have a better solution to this issue, but Arx leaves it unclear. I killed mandatory NPCs in Arx just to test it out, so it is possible, and you get no information like, as mentioned, in Morrowind, where the death of an important NPC is indicated with a lore-friendly immersive message. I presume that the crucial NPCs in Arx will just respawn, since I know that Kaltar respawns later in the game even if you murder him in the Goblin Jail. Honestly, I'm not quite sure on the implication of killing crucial NPCs in Arx. That is just another proof that some information and feedback is not provided to the player properly and directly. There are other systems that are in the game that certainly would add more to the game if they were more fleshed out, but they're not, and we, or I, can only speculate on the reasoning behind this. For example, there is a hunger system, probably to complement the cooking and crafting system, but you probably will never notice if you're using food to heal yourself from time to time. The only way to really notice is if Amshagar just tells you that he's hungry out of the blue. What are the implications of hunger? Can you starve? Does it lower your stats? I don't know. And I even skimmed the manual to see if there is an obvious hint. And I only know because I looked it up after beating the game. Not eating will gradually start to damage your health. As mentioned, I'm all for immersive game mechanics with consequences, but they need to be better communicated and more fleshed out to make any sense. There are other strange design choices as well. You find a magical item, however, it's unidentified. You'll need someone to identify it for you or use a spell or a scroll before knowing what it really is. Isn't that a part of almost every RPG you ever played? Well, you can do that in Arx Fatalis as well, except for the identifying part. You see, there's a stat, object knowledge, and a sufficiently high score is the only way to identify items in the game. It would be easy to make up some headcanon for this. For example, no one being left in the fantasy post-apocalypse who would have that kind of arcane knowledge, except you, the guardian from another dimension. But honestly, even this could be done in a unique way. Even without identification scrolls or spells, you could have made a specific NPC that could identify items through quests, minor tasks, or just for the gold. The Order might have been a good design choice for that. This way, this is just a stat that you'll most likely ignore, like I did, to raise your magical or combat stats. It's also quite clear that the end of the game probably was rushed. It certainly is the weakest part of the game and the part that I enjoyed the least. While the game had plenty of opportunities to use the setup of the last part of the game to do great things, it just falls flat. The Illicit invasion of Arx is underused and too short. It's of no consequence, and after the dungeon sequence, Arx just goes back to normal like it never happened. It's an underused opportunity to add more quests, reactivity, and story portions to the game. The worst offender is probably the Dwarven Kingdom, an utterly pointless area that is not fleshed out, with a chase sequence of the worst kind. A chase sequence with an enemy you can't kill. I presume that it was meant to throw some sand in the eyes of the player to the dullness of the area itself and to do something kinda unique, since the area is totally devoid of any other features and there's nothing to it except for the forging of the Mithril Blade. While a lot of work was put into the crafting system, and apparently the enchanting system as well, I cannot comment too much on that. I dislike crafting in basically all RPGs and mostly ignore it if it's possible. It's one of those things I do, and it would be unfair to criticize any of the systems in Arx since I actively avoided them. However, cooking seemed rather cool, and I remember being impressed by the way you can do things in the game back as a kid. Even today, it's a very neat touch. I only became aware of the enchant item spell rather late in the game, and at one point you're forced to use it yourself or let an NPC do it for you. I find the idea of combining items with components and basically sealing them in a combination with a spell interesting, but I did not dive deeper into the system. From what I can gather on reading up on the system, there are not too many things you can do with the spell, but the effects you can add to the items, like for example, paralyze to a weapon with a golem heart, seem really effective and definitely worth it, especially when I think of all the Illicits you will have to fight. While the magic system is rather unique and fun, and the drawing of runes adds a unique twist to the casting of spells in the game, I'd still say it's a little bit underdeveloped. I dislike that you basically unlock rune combinations automatically by picking up runes. Spells just appear in your spellbook. I think the game could have gotten a lot more content out of just unlocking runes and specific spells by doing missions for important NPCs. This way, it's just a matter of finding runes, which is not horrible, but still a bit bare bones. While Arx implies multiple viable playstyles, I fail to see any reason to ever play as something else but a battle mage, or basically mixing melee combat and magic. I feel like the disadvantages of wearing heavy armor are not severe enough to punish such a playstyle. Not that there is anything wrong with that, but I feel like the magic system, as a very innovative side of Arx, maybe was pushed into the front of the character building a little bit too much. However, on the other side of things, there are many details in Arx that prove how much love went into some parts of this game. A good example of this is the moment you enter the destroyed human outpost for the first time. You find a wounded guard and a wounded commander. As you come back, you have to realize that the wounded guard died. I appreciate little details like that because it proves that the devs care about the game world. There are some really neat parts to this. For example, if you fumble the summon demon spell, you will just summon a chicken. I found that really funny and pretty good for the food situation in Arx. Sadly, some of these details are just cool ideas that are not really developed any further, and they still remain underused. One such detail would be the human outpost again. I would have appreciated a visual change after you clear the tunnels and the human guards return. It would be natural for them to try to repair the destroyed outpost, or at least clean it up a bit. Immersion is a very important factor for me, and I would say that this was the strongest part of the game. Some areas are just well done and harmonized with the soundtrack. They're very atmospheric, and it's easy to lose yourself in them. Sadly, not all areas in Arx qualify for that. I think that this has more to do with the constraints the developers dealt with and with the obviously rushed last part of the game. However, I'd still say that it's one of the highlights of the game along with the magic system. As for the story, well, bet some people won't like this, but being a reviewer and not having to actually indicate how subjective some of my takes are, I still have to say that I was rather disappointed. The strong and mysterious start that the game seemed to offer was totally gone by the point the game reveals that you are a guardian. While you could see it from a mile away, along with some other major parts of the story, like for example the identity of Alia, it still seemed to destroy any potential to anything serious or at least tense and interesting with the big reveal that it's thrown in your face in the middle of the game. I'm aware that it would be unfair to criticize Arx for the whole "you're the great hero saving the world" narrative, since it is served in many games I love and appreciate, but I feel like it is pushed in the foreground so hard in Arx that it actually destroys much of the role-playing you could have had. Sure, you're the hero that's saving the world in Gothic 1 and 2 as well, especially in 2, where it's revealed in the first minute of gameplay by Xardas, but you still are not treated as such in the game world. This gives you plenty of possibility to get lost in the story the game creates around you, and to immerse yourself with the factions and choices. Arx seems to take a different approach. I felt like I'm only playing through the main story, following a very linear path the Guardian has to take, completing his mission and going back to the Nodal, like some sort of glorified delivery man handing out interdimensional justice. Some people might enjoy this way of storytelling more, and I'm aware that certain players prefer a focused, story-driven experience, and such preferences might be served in Arx, but for me it still felt like an episode and played more like something you'd expect out of a FPS game rather than an RPG at times. Still, the story works sufficiently well to explain why you're here and what you're doing, but I would not go into this game expecting a super elaborate plot or many choices along the way. So, is Arx Fatalis actually worth your time if you haven't played it before? A game that you can only enjoy with a proper amount of patience and a healthy dose of tolerance to jank. Is it a good and enjoyable game? I would still have to say yes. Although I'm aware that I've spent most of this review talking about the negatives, the ideas, the atmosphere, and the journey Arx is offering are still enjoyable enough to warrant a playthrough. Is it a game you will most likely play through multiple times? A game that offers very different experiences if you decide to? Not really, no. Also, as strange as it sounds for a 20-year-old game, Arx still has a future. The Arx Insanity mod that promises to overhaul the game and add new areas has been in development for years. So if you're craving for more Arx, you might just get what you want, when it's done that is. But still, it's something to look forward to. I would have to say, the journey through Arx is more than worth your time, especially if you can let yourself be immersed in the world. So stand next to an air duct and let it sink in.